All right, y'all, part 3. Now enters the solution. Written in code, in metaphors and allegories, motherfucker. Is you with me? We're going to go to the book of Leviticus. Chapter 16. The whole motherfucking chapter. You're going to have to read. You got to get up off your lazy motherfucking ass and read Leviticus chapter 16. Don't forget, y'all, we talk about eradicating and getting that shit up out of us. Is you with me? We don't need no motherfucker on the organ and singing and shit, playing the drums and all that shit. Motherfuckers laying hands on motherfuckers. Now you got these new motherfuckers that want to be passed. You know, we already hip to the old motherfuckers, that well shit. We passed that, but now they got these new pastors want to mix, political science, want to be, English majors so they can, talk real proper and shit. They want to mix a little bit of American history, to sound like Martin Luther King, mixed with scripture, Malcolm X, those types. That shit don't work neither. I mean, he looked good. When I go to the church, I can brag on my pastor of how many degrees they got. And then when the visiting motherfuckers come to our church, I can say, there go the pastor. Then the pastor comes out, he on the new wave shit. Sometimes he just, he dressed in a button down and blue jeans, to give the presentation that he's down to earth. Or sometimes the motherfucker comes suited and booted. He'll come out there suited and booted. But he got his wife over here. He only been married one time, got his kids and shit. He got his degrees and, he talk real proper and shit, like Malcolm X and Martin and what have you. Guess what? You ready? That shit don't work. I mean, it looked good. I mean, it's a black role model, something for our kids to look up to. But what we talking about now is some serious shit. Shit that has plagued families from generations to generation, and we ain't even got to go that far. The motherfuckers living today, that plague has traveled from their parents to them. The crack era. We ain't even got to go back generations and generations. We can just take it back to the 70s and 80s. Or in the mid-late 80s when crack came. Newsflash, we was already retarded before then. Newsflash. 1921, we throwing around Wall Street, Black Wall Street. 1921. That's when they bombed Wall Street, it was in 1921. Ain't no telling how long that shit was erected. 1921 is when they destroyed Wall Street. When them evil rapists by nature, as soon as they born motherfuckers, that's when they destroyed Wall Street, was in 1921. That's not when it was erected. 1921 was just 56 years off of slavery. And those niggas experienced the financial success, pound for pound, we ain't been able to match since then. Them niggas probably barely had shoes on their feet. How did they build an economic foundation? How many niggas back then, y'all ready for this, had a college degree from Harvard? In 1921, 1929, some shit? How many niggas had a college degree back then? How did they do it? But fuck that, that ain't what I'm talking about. This is what I'm about to say. I'm about to spoil all that. That's right, I'm finna spoil all that shit. Listen, in 1921, y'all wanna talk about Black Wall Street? That's 56 years off of slavery. Guess what? Those niggas were spiritually retarded too. Them motherfuckers was just coming off of slavery. That was like that motherfucker in the movie Color Purple. That motherfucker was self-efficient. The character Danny Glover played, I know it's a movie, but still, it touches on some good points. Go back and look at The Color Purple. That nigga was self-efficient. He grew his own food. I ain't never seen him punching a time clock for no white motherfucker. I ain't never seen Danny Glover punching no time clock for no white motherfucker. But at the end of the day, when that motherfucker tied that donkey up and he made his way to that house, why don't we ask Whoopi Goldberg and them? or the motherfuckers that was in that house when they seen that doorknob turn. Why don't we ask them motherfuckers? Because back then, that's when they say when black, that's when they say that's when black men was men. Those motherfuckers were some crazy motherfuckers too. Just because you can experience some financial success in this kingdom, that is not the ruler and the measuring stick for spiritual health. Using their kingdom, because you can have success in their kingdom, motherfucker, that ain't no ruler and the measuring stick. Not for no melanated motherfucker. The fuck is you talking about? Not even for them. The fuck is you talking about? Leviticus chapter 16. Let me show you how they dealt with eradicating that motherfucker up out of you. I'm gonna say it again. Leviticus chapter 16. Let me show you how they dealt with eradicating that motherfucking thing. That horrific event. Let me show you in ritualistic form, nigga. They had something called the Day of Atonement. It only happened once a year. First of all, let's get an understanding what atone means. All right? You have two things right here. But something is in the middle. These two right here can't come together because this is in the way. Atonement means to move the thing, move this out the way so these two things can come together. That thing that stands between you and God has to go. So you and God can have an intimate relationship. Is you with me? But for right now, there's something that's in between. And it has to go. Look up the word atone, motherfucker. And for you smart motherfuckers, look up the etymology of it. And let's get down with this shit. Leviticus chapter 16, motherfucker. They had something called the Day of Atonement. It happens once a year. Why once a year, God? How come you ain't do this shit every, how come they couldn't do this shit every week? God said, no. There was a ritual, a holiday. Is you with me? It was called the Day of Atonement. It happened once a year. That's when all the sins of damn near 600,000 people would be removed. It happened once a year. Every year, all the accumulations that the nation of Israel had contracted, 600,000 people, plus the priests, all their sins that they have accumulated throughout the course of the year, this one day, this one holiday, this one celebration, this one ritualistic act that happens once a year, the accumulation of all their sins would be taken away. It'd be taken away in the celebration, in the ritual of the Day of Atonement, that particular holiday. The Day of Atonement. As you listen. Now, when you read Exodus, in the book of Leviticus and Numbers, shit can get, it can get kind of confusing because they was always sacrificing and making offerings and shit. Some of the main ones was, the burnt offering, the grain offering, the peace offering, the fellowship offering, and then there was the sin offering. The sin offering? Fuck you mean the sin offering? That's the most famous one. Even motherfuckers who don't read the Bible have heard of that. Jesus was the sin offering. I mean, you motherfuckers teach, for the people who believe in this book, that, Jesus died for our sins. He was a sacrificial lamb. I'm going to reiterate the burnt offering, the major ones, the burnt offering, the grain offering, the peace offering, fellowship offering, and then the sin offering. The sin offering, I'm going to give you some of the, I'm going to give you some of the requirements for the sin offering. Is you ready? Leviticus, bitch, chapter 16. Follow me. One of the requirements was this: whatever animal that they was using, it had to be without blemish. The animal had to be perfect. Couldn't have a broken leg, one eye, motherfucking ear chewed off. You know what I'm saying? The animal had to be a perfect specimen. You get it? Physically, the animal had to be perfect. The animal was representing Jesus. They didn't know it. They was just following what God told them to do. Hey, motherfucker, do this. But God, why? Bitch, just do it. But they didn't know the animal was acting as Jesus. But just watch. But this is what I want you to pay attention to. Leviticus, Bible thumpers, niggas who like reading the Bible. You know, you got one of them in every family. Every time they have, a Bible question, they call your aunt or uncle. They call auntie, she know, and all this shit. Motherfucker just got out of jail. They got their Bible all marked up and shit, the motherfuckers like that. Run this by them when it comes to the sin offering. Because I bet you they ain't never told you this. And it's right in scripture. You can go check it. As I'm talking to you, you can check it, motherfucker. Y'all ready for this? Another requirement of the sin offering. Is you ready for this? Go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 4. And you're going to find something strikingly strange. Same book now that these motherfuckers read. Same book. Leviticus, chapter 4. Read. This is one of the requirements. This is one of the requirements. This is one of the requirements for the sin offering. Leviticus, chapter 4, verse 2. Leviticus, chapter 4, verse 13. Leviticus chapter 4, verse 22, and Leviticus chapter 4, verse 27. You're going to keep seeing, now these are one of the requirements for the sin offering. Did you catch it? When they start talking about the different classes of people, God was saying, do a goat, do a ram, do this, do a bullock. And then he would give the certain class of people. He says, for a ruler, do this and that, do this, do that, do that. For a common person, do this and that, do this and this. For a priest, do this and do it. You follow me? He had different classes of people. The priest, the ruler, the common person. Do you follow what I'm saying? But it was something strikingly strange. The animal that was sacrificed for that particular person from that particular class, one of the requirements was this. You ready? Sins committed through, you ready? Ignorance. Hey, this about a bitch. There go that word again. They go to, Bible thumpers. I know y'all flipping through y'all Bible because I done ran into enough of y'all. Y'all never talk about it, about the sin offering. Motherfucker. Y'all see me on this video, and I done had conversations with y'all when y'all just got out of prison. The sin offering, the main offering, sins committed through ignorance. Ain't this about a bitch? You know how niggas say on the cool? On the cool, nigga. What the fuck you mean, God? You gonna have to explain that. What you mean sins committed through ignorance? God said, just hold on, nigga. Take them through the ritual. See, on the Day of Atonement for the sin offering, on the Day of Atonement for the sin offering, they had to get 2 goats. Is you with me? They had to get 2 goats. Now, I'm going to try to put my hand on the screen and explain to y'all. There were 2 goats. 1 goat they sacrificed, the other goat they left alive. But it represented one spiritual action inside of you. Is everybody ready? The first goat, they murked that motherfucker. That goat looking like, man, I ain't did shit. I mean, damn, what the fuck? Nigga, don't give a fuck. Your ass finna get murked. The goat was innocent and ain't do nothing, just like Jesus. Or the story of Jesus. But just watch. When they killed the goat, watch this now. When they killed the goat, they took his blood. They killed the goat right here. Then they took some to the break. Watch my finger. They took some of the, they took some of the blood, put it in the bowl, what have you. They did something at the brazen altar. The brazen altar. And then they went in past the laver. Then they went into the outer court. Then they entered into the temple. The bottom line is they made their way behind the veil where God would chill at. So they started here, watch, they started here and they went on a journey through a meticulous step-by-step process that in which God sent them to make it behind the veil where he was. I'm gonna say it again. They killed the goat right here, right? And then they went to the brazen altar, and then they watch this, they did a bunch of other meticulous shit that they had to do step by step, a meticulous things that they had to do, or order a procession for them to make it to God in the temple, way in the back. God was chilling way in the back of the temple. They had to make it through the courtyard. They had to make it through the courtyard, go past the brazen altar, then make it to the outer court, then make it inside the temple, and then go to the back of the temple. With the goat's blood. Bible thumpers, smart motherfuckers. Well, you intellectuals already know, y'all head spinning now. But for motherfuckers who read the Bible, who call themselves Bible thumpers. Intellectuals, I know y'all listening in because maybe y'all can steal some of this and put in y'all repertoire, because that's what y'all be doing. I be hearing y'all do that shit. But just watch. Let me show you what you was witnessing. The meticulous acts that the priest was going through with the blood. He had the blood in the bowl, but he had to do this, do that, do this, do this, get to the outer court, then do this, do that, do this, do that, do that. Then he'll make it back to God, who was in the temple, but he was way in the back. That whole, watch this, nigga. You're gonna like this, Pastor. That whole order of procession, that meticulous order of procession that the priest had to perform step by step by step, that he was getting closer to God, was crucifying that motherfucking rapist, murderous mindset. I'm gonna repeat. That motherfucking thing that's in you, that has power over you. The journey that the priest went on, representing you following God's rules and laws. As you follow God's rules and laws, notice how my finger is moving up. That's the same order of procession that the priest went in to get to God. It was just the priest solely by himself. He just didn't walk, he just didn't kill the goat and then just walk in the temple to God. He had to do a bunch of shit before he got to God. He had to do a bunch of shit. It was rituals within a ritual. He had to do a bunch of shit. That shit, those ritualistic things that he was doing was acting as you. When you start following God's rules and laws, don't even worry about that motherfucker that's in you. That's where y'all make y'all mistake. Oh man, I'm gonna try to stop doing this. Nigga, it's hard to do that. But it's easy to follow God's laws. How many New Year's resolutions you bitches done made? And within 48 hours, you doing the thing that you said you wasn't gonna do because you got it fucked up. Leave the thing, leave the disease, leave that rapist, murderous mindset, leave that atrocity event that happened to you, leave it alone. Do what's easy, which is just read God's rules and laws and follow. Did you catch it? The key word, like I said, in the law and members of my body, that video, when you follow them, you're doing what the priest was doing. You get it? When you follow God's laws, motherfucker, did you catch it? You're going through the same order of procession that the priest did to make it back inside the temple to God. Because what you're doing is you're taking the power. Ain't this about a bitch? You're taking the power from that thing. Did you catch it? You're following God's rules and laws. You're going through a meticulous order of you're going through a meticulous order or procession of moving closer to God. You're shedding off some of the power of that motherfucking thing that's in you. You're taking power from it slowly. Did you catch that? The priest would make it to the back and he would take and throw some blood one time over here. And then he'll sprinkle it 7 times over here. But while he's performing that ritual, everybody on the outside in the Muslim position, they like this, waiting for the priest to come out. In the Muslim position. You know, they're praying like the Muslims pray. They like this, waiting for the priest to come out. Once the priest make it out, everybody cheering and shit. Niggas giving high fives and shit. You know what I'm saying? Lighting one up, taking it to the head. The goat, the other goat, he happy too because everybody else happy. But I looked at the goat and like, I don't know what you happy for, motherfucker. It's your turn now. Yeah, nigga. It's your turn now. Yeah, the goat like, what you mean, man? They just sacrificed that goat. What they need me for? I say, just watch. Once, follow me. Once that atrocious, fucked up, sick, twisted event that happened to you, that you keep replaying these images. And it sends you on an emotional roller coaster. You're trying to hide the shit. Now you start looking like what you is, motherfucker. Physically. You're trying to hide it. But once you start following God's rules and laws, like I said, which represents the priest going through an order of procession, making it back in the temple to God with the blood of the goat. Once you start following God's rules and laws, don't even pay attention to that motherfucking thing that's in you. Just follow God's rules and laws. You take some of the power from it. You ain't no longer under the power of it. It starts taking that urge, that in which that'll make you do sick, twisted shit when ain't nobody around. Now that power, it's not over you no more. It's gone. But guess what? You ready? But that motherfucking event is still in you. Although it ain't got no power in you, it ain't got no power over you, it doesn't negate the fact that it's still in you. It just don't have no power over you anymore. But when the priests came out of the temple and he looked at that other goat, yeah, All right, motherfucker, all the laughter is over. It's your turn now. So the live go like, well, what's up, man? Go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 16, verse 21. Shit, motherfucker. Motherfucker. Go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 16, verse 21. I'm going to get specific with this particular passage. Watch this. Now that the power has been taken away from it, the thing that's in you, shown in ritualistic form. When the priest would come out the temple, he'd go to the live goat. All right, motherfucker, your turn. But we ain't gonna kill you, though. You ain't gotta start crying. We ain't gonna kill you like we did the other goat. What Aaron would do, or the high priest at that particular time, what the high priest would do is take his hands and place it. Watch this. He would take his hands and place it upon the head of the live goat. Leviticus chapter 21, verse 16, nigga. Get there. Get there, nigga. You want to get there for this party. It's a party you don't want to miss, motherfucker. Because the power has been taken away. That thing that's in you, that tragic event, no longer has power over you. But it still doesn't negate the fact that it's still in you, though. So just watch it, nigga. You still having these sick, twisted, these images, but they don't have power over you no more. That in which they'll propel you to act upon them, to treat other people a certain way, fucking over people. It don't got power over you like that no more. But it doesn't negate the fact that it's still in you, nigga. But just watch. When the high priest would come out, like I said, Leviticus chapter 16, verse 21, the priest would put his hands, now this is part 2, the live goat. He'll put his hands upon the head of the goat and confess and transfer, watch this, all the sins of the nation of Israel, damn near 600,000 people, plus himself. The other part of the ritual is just to take the power from it. Now, watch part 2 of the ritual. Leviticus chapter 16, verse 21. They take his hands and put on the head of the goat and confess all the sins of the nation of Israel and put them on the head of the goat. Watch this. And then it says, if you read it by now, but I'm going to read it for you lazy motherfuckers. And Aaron, the high priest, shall place both of his hands, Leviticus chapter 16, verse 21. Aaron, the high priest, shall put both of his hands upon the head of the goat, confessing and placing upon the head of the goat all the transgressions and iniquities and sins of the nation of Israel, placing them upon the head of the live goat, and then a fit man, an in shape motherfucker, a muscular motherfucker, a healthy motherfucker. It says, and then after he transferred all the sins of the nation of Israel, including himself, he would place his hand upon the head of the goat and place all the sins of the people of the nation of Israel upon the head of that goat. And then it says, a fit man, a in shape motherfucker, would come and take the goat away. He'll walk the goat probably a month or 2 or 3 months. He'll take that motherfucker into the wilderness so motherfucking far. Why is that, God? Because it represents that the goat can't find its way back into the camp. He'll take the goat out so far that the goat can't wander back into camp. That represents God. You ready? He takes the power away from it. And then the fit man, the motherfucker, and it says fit. Leviticus chapter 16, verse 21. F-I-T, fit man. Not only, watch this, was the goat innocent, but watch this. The fit man, you ready, was Jesus. And Jesus is nothing more than God's rules, laws, ordinances, and commandments wrapped up in the bodily form of a man. Well, you probably saying, well, why is they calling it Jesus? Motherfucker, they called the Old Testament. God's rules, laws, ordinances, and commandments, they called it Moses. Oh, yes, they did. God was talking slang up in that motherfucker. Go to 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 15. He called the law Moses. They was shooting slang around, wordplay up in that bitch. In Luke chapter 16, when Jesus dropped the parable of the rich man, the poor man Lazarus, and Abraham. When the poor man was in Abraham's bosom, he was holding him. Is you with me? And Abraham was talking to the rich man. And the rich man saying, okay, well, since you can't give me no motherfucking water, nigga, why don't you go warn my brothers? You know, go tell them the good words so they don't end up in this fucked up predicament. Because, see, the rich man was in hell. So he was like, man, since you can't give me no water, since there's a gulf that you can't cross, you know, like you can't come over here and give me no motherfucking water, at least go warn my brothers so they don't end up in this predicament like me in hell. Abraham said this, and I somewhat quote, in the book of Luke, chapter 16, when Jesus dropped the parable of Lazarus, the poor man, the rich man, and Abraham. Abraham told that motherfucker just like this. They won't hear nobody from the dead. He said they got Moses and the prophets. What you mean, Moses? Abraham saying that's just, you know, short for they got God's rules, laws, ordinances, and commandments, and rituals, and holidays, and all that. He summed all that up and called it Moses. I don't hear you motherfuckers complaining about that. While y'all talking about, you know, we ain't talking about the fucking European, that child pedophile looking motherfucker they got. But y'all talking about, oh, Jesus, man, he fake and he ain't real and all this. I don't hear you motherfuckers saying that about Moses. And they call God's whole Old Testament laws, the rituals, the ordinances, the sacrifices, the holidays, God's rules, laws, ordinances, and commandments. They called all that. They summed it all up and put it in the bodily form of a man and called it Moses. And he did the same thing with Jesus. The fit man was acting also as Jesus / God's rules, laws, ordinances, and commandments. When you follow God's rules, laws, ordinances, and commandments, when you follow God's rules, laws, ordinances, and commandments, not only does it take the power from that horrific event that's governing you, that's got you doing sick, twisted shit, not only does it take the power away from it, but guess what? It takes it away from it. Oh shit. It'll take it away from you, my nigga. That's why the fit man took the goat away, the live goat. Not only do God's rules and laws and ordinances take the power from it, but it'll take it away. Oh, bitch, I'm smoking. Part 4 coming up. The fuck you think, nigga? Part 4, nigga.